Welcome to the Jason Reuter Coaches Show here on the Bear Network. I'm your host, Gary Omby, as we have our very first basketball show of the season here in Studio H12, where it's always recorded, and we appreciate Mr. Shore and his students making these possible for your viewing pleasure. And Coach, welcome to our very first show of the year. The last show we had is a recap of the last season, which was another state title for the Bearettes, of course. And something's going to happen here today that I know gives you a lot of great pleasure. Malia Wilcox will sign a scholarship today, immediately following our program here, looks like. And it'll be the fourth Bearett has signed a college scholarship in the last, 10 days? Harmony
Yes.
Ware with Arkansas last Monday, Tatiana Stovall with Kennesaw State this past Monday, Avery Brewer with Samford last Wednesday, and Malia Wilcox State with Walter State. And that's got to give you a lot of satisfaction and pleasure as their head coach. You've seen these girls for all 4 years, and they've won back-to-back state titles, which gets a lot of eyeballs, a lot of attention, a lot of press. But these girls have earned a shot at playing college ball, and I know it's got to make you and your staff feel really good about that.
Yeah, it's very rewarding. It's there's not just one target that you're after here. As a my job as a Bradley County employee is to be a teacher and also a basketball coach. But I'm trying to put the best product on the floor. But the byproduct is you have families and kids that are looking towards the future, and there's one reason a lot of these kids came here is to have an opportunity to play at the next level, and I hope we had a little something to do with it. The Barrett basketball program. Now these 4 girls you mentioned, they're all talented young ladies, but winning breeds winning, and I think the accumulation of wins and championships and their talent, put it all together, and then you get a special group like this. It's very rare to get 4 in one class. I don't know that I've ever had 4 in one class. And we got probably another one to come. Love Howard. She's had a couple offers, maybe more than 2. I think it's hard to keep up with all of them. I get so many texts and emails, but very, very, very proud of all these girls. And but now we got some work to do, and we can't rest on our laurels. It's like yesterday's newspaper. It's gone, and we got to start worrying about the winning another ball game on Thursday night. I know you're getting that, but very, very, very blessed to have these young ladies.
Well, I was going to say that's a good word to use. Very, very blessed. We've got a list now of Barretts who played under you and signed a college scholarship. It's 32 in 14 years. 4 this year. You've won 3 state titles in the last 6, 7 years, 19 and 23 and 24. I don't know any coach around this that can say they've had that many girls being placed on college scholarships. I'm sure they are somewhere, but it's just the program itself, and it breeds success. But it's people don't realize, unless they're close to the program, how much effort and time and energy goes into reaching that level, but to maintain it, because Max Prep's got you picked number 13 in the country. That's a beauty contest, I know. Obviously, you're number 1 in Tennessee with back-to-back state titles, and the Bears are always ranked in the top group there. And it's just, it doesn't happen by accident. And there's coaches out there saying, gosh, I wish just one time we could be ranked, one time go to the state. I got radio buzz, said, man, what's it feel like to go to Murfreesboro and broadcast a game? You guys there every year. And it feels great, but it's an effort that it's not just the only maybe the parents and the players themselves and the coach staff, of course, knows the effort that goes into maintaining the level that you've got there. And it's not easy to maintain that. Everybody's going to be shooting at you now. Again,
you're right.
Again.
Yeah, Gary, I think you're right. I've learned as a young coach, you had aspirations to, I was a long time assistant coach. You know my story, and maybe everybody doesn't out there. I was assistant coach for 17 years altogether, and then 15 as a head coach. So I've put a lot of time in, and you're right. This is a tremendous effort that goes on behind the scenes, parents and coaches and players. But you're right, what you did yesterday has nothing to do with tomorrow. And that's what you got to get across these kids. If you're not careful, you'll rest on your laurels. We got to stay hungry. That's my biggest job this year, is keeping them hungry. We've been practicing. We've had a couple of scrimmages canceled. We went to Lebanon last weekend and played 2 games, JV and 2 varsity. But these kids are wanting to play somebody. And they're human. I had to kind of get on them in practice yesterday. You're going through the motions. We got to keep sharpening our axe and be ready. Because look, the schedule we're playing, We're just not going to go undefeated. We're playing nationally ranked teams. Could we go undefeated? Well, sure, but the odds are very low. We're just playing too many good teams. And we're going on a national schedule. We're going to Miami and going to D.C., and I'm getting some of your thunder here, but the amount of work that goes into this is tremendous, yes. I think someday, whenever that day is, I'll look back and when I'm done with this and go, whew, what am I going to do now? I don't golf, I don't hunt, I don't fish. What am I going to do with all this time? But
lay on the beach.
I'll figure something out, Gary.
Lay on the beach there. Well, is there pressure in your position as head coach? I guess let me ask you this. Do the girls feel the pressure? Hey, you're back-to-back state, and everybody, we want to take down the mighty Bearettes. That would make the season for a lot of schools, lot of schools. Yeah. To beat the #1 team in the state and one of the top teams in the country. I hope the girls are not feeling the pressure. I hope you're deflecting that as much as you can with your name and Keith and Adam, all those guys. But it's just something that, and maybe it doesn't. Maybe there is no pressure, Well, let's throw it out there and let's play ball, Have fun. Till
you crawl in someone else's skin, you can't do that. You don't really know exactly what everybody's feeling, but I will tell you that I've been teaching a long time, and I can tell you teenagers are pretty resilient. They bounce back quicker than us adults do.
Yeah.
I think sometimes losses, I've moped around more than my kids did. If you're not careful, you'll remember the losses more than the wins. But I think this bunch is pretty loose. I think they know what the goal is. A lot of times preseason, coaches will sit down and write goals for the year. Win 20 games or win the district, or there may be places where they're writing just make the region tournament. Mm-hmm. We didn't have to do that this year. It'd been a waste of time. We know what we're after. Our goal is to win a gold ball and the #1 spot in the state of Tennessee and win a state championship. So I'm not saying that, look, I know if you want to take everybody else in the state and bet on them and let me bet on the Bearettes, that might be a good bet because there's so many things that can go wrong.
Yeah.
You've been covering the Bearettes for a long time until we won it in 19. I'm sure you may have saw the 76 team and 75, but you weren't covering the Bearettes. Yep. So how many years did you have to wait to see a Bearette team win a championship? Now we won 3. I don't know that people, you got to remember that it was 40-some years in between, and that could happen again. There's places who've never won one, but we have 4 classes now. It's a little bit easier, but a long story short, the pressure, I'm going to take the pressure as much as I can off these kids and just let them play. And basketball is a reaction game. You have to be very cerebral and you have to think a lot, but it's really a reaction game. Your practice is where you win the games, and you've heard me say that many times. And when you get on the floor, it's kind of like you're the maestro, and these kids, we've already did our work. Now we got to go ahead and perform. Yeah. And I think they're just wanting to play basketball, Gary. And yes, they know what's at stake, but I just don't know. I say I get a little more anxious about games maybe than they do right now. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the schedule. And we sat here last year about this same time, preseason. You said this is the toughest schedule I've ever had as a coach, as a Bearette head coach. How's that going to compare? Because let's start out with tomorrow night, River Ridge. We're doing this on a Wednesday. River Ridge, one of the top teams in Georgia. The Lady Knights, I think they go by. They're coming in here. We went to their place last year and beat them in a close game. They're going to be a challenge for you. Coming up then the Thanksgiving Classic, which you host every year. You've got Lincoln County, Coffee County, who were in the state. Last year, Innsworth's in the state tournament. Bradley won the state tournament, so you got a tremendously powerful schedule. You got Power Academy coming out of Memphis, and Stewart's Creek, who wasn't in the state last year. We played them last year, I think, somewhere along the line.
We did, right here.
We got them opening on the November the 29th. That's Friday at 3 o'clock, the afternoon game. Then that's Thanksgiving weekend. That Saturday, we play the late game, 4 o'clock, against Lincoln County. So you got those guys. And then I was just looking at last night. We got River Ridge here tomorrow night. You've got Bartlett, runner-up state tournament champion, to us 2 years in a row. They're coming here December the 19th to play a single girls game. That should be a classic battle there.
Oh, yeah.
Look forward to having that. You've got Knox Catholic, home and away, the 2-time defending state champion in the large private school class. Have you lost your mind? Coach.
You know what? It's just kind of like, it was just a situation where I have a team that's we're good.
Yeah.
And
You need to be tested, though.
We need to be tested. You know, that's an old analogy, you know, you don't take a donkey to the Kentucky Derby, but what we've got a team that needs to run in the Kentucky Derby, and we need to be challenged.
Bunch of
That's why I
thoroughbreds.
try to tell you, when you roll the dice this many times, we're playing teams that are if not equal to us, if we're slightly favored. You know, if you're just 4 or 5 points better and you keep playing 8 or 9 teams that you're 5 or 6 points better, eventually you're going to have a bad night. I've learned this. Last year we were
34-1.
34-1. That's 35 games. Here's what I've learned. You play 35 games in a year, Gary, you'll have 5 nights on that year that you could beat the basket's this big, shots are going in, ball bounces right. Hey, they get a key player in foul trouble. You could beat anybody that night. Mm-hmm. And you've heard me say this before, and there's about 5 games a year, roughly, give or take, that you play lousy. If you play somebody pretty good, you're going to lose. Then I have found everything else is in between. So it's a little bit like life. You got those you think about the greatest days in your life, you think about the worst days in your life, and everything else is somewhere in between those.
Right.
And that's pretty much the way game basketball is.
Yeah.
Now, we've got a team that can have an average game and beat most teams. But if we play bad tomorrow night, if we play bad, I can promise you we will lose. Max Preps has River Ridge number 2 in the state of Georgia, all classes. I think they have 7 classes. Mm-hmm. We're number 1, according to Max Preps, in all classes. So you got number 1, number 2 coming in here, Jim Smitty tomorrow night. Little concerned, they played their 3rd game. They're 3-0. They played last night and won again. And I got a film on them. They beat Carrollton, Georgia. Carrollton, Georgia is ranked number 1 in 6A. River Ridge is in Woodstock. They're ranked number 1 in 5A. But even though they're a slightly smaller school, they're still saying that they're the second best team in Georgia. Hebron, there's a school, I've never been there. Hebron Christian is ranked number 1 in Georgia, and they're ranked 4th in the nation. So that's who they're playing second fiddle to, which is pretty strong. Yeah. I don't think I've ever played a team of this caliber. I'm pretty sure I can say this. As a head coach, I don't think I've ever played a team of this caliber on our first game.
Right.
And I'm a little concerned that they've had 3 games under the belt, because if you know anything about coaching in basketball, you learn a lot. All right, we're not doing a good job on this. We're not doing our help defense is late. You know, we're not setting good screens. We're hand checking. I mean, we played 2 scrimmages games last Saturday, but you couldn't foul out. Now, what if Tatiana tries to block too many shots and she gets in foul trouble and she's setting down?
Different story.
The different story. So we're almost. I'm using every trick I got in practice, and if anybody comes to my practice, you'll see that I try to simulate the game as much as possible. But this will be a tremendous test. We could still be the best team in Tennessee and lose tomorrow night.
Well, you could be, and we was talking about the schedule. I didn't even mention the fact you're going to Miami.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know what
I
you're
wish going down to Miami. Yeah, no big deal. That's just a little,
a side excursion there.
30 of us flying down to Miami the day after Christmas, and playing in something called the Junior Orange Bowl. I guess that's a play on the Orange Bowl. You know, it's been going on a long time. 8 girls teams, 8 boys teams. We got in contact with them this summer, and really maybe in May. You know, we really make our schedule out for the most part before we get out of school. You know, we won a state championship in March. I had my schedule 85% complete by end of May.
Really?
And we got in contact with them, and they offered me a deal that was pretty inviting, and I took advantage of it. So we're going to go down to Miami. I know there's 4 out-of-state teams, and there's 4 of the top teams in Florida. And, I really haven't dug into that too deep. Trying to book flights and rental cars and all that, but I haven't really. The brackets just came out. I don't know if I sent that bracket to you, but I'll send it to you when we get off here. But
please do.
And you haven't mentioned, I don't know if anybody's heard this out here in TV land, but the Washington, D.C. trip, we were planning on going on Inauguration Weekend, Martin Luther King weekend. It didn't get canceled, but the agreement got canceled. So us, and there's 16 teams around the country that were going into D.C., 16 of the top teams in the nation, along with the local teams there. I mean, me and you talked about this the other day. they must be, I don't know what the population is in the DC metro area. They can have a heck of a classic
Yeah.
without out-of-state teams, but I think they just got caught behind. They didn't plan for the inauguration, and they got in a bind. But on the flip side, it's it was not a pleasant phone call when they called me. I mean, we got $8,800 in airline tickets booked. We've got parents already renting Airbnbs. Now, I don't want to vent here on the air, but it's not a good situation.
Yeah.
This St. James Classic over in D.C. It actually was in Alexandria. I looked it up. It's 9 miles from the White House.
Yeah.
But so we're not going there. But on the flip side, we are now going to Orlando.
So who are you going to play down there?
Orlando. There's a friend of mine. He's a Tennessee boy. He was a grad assistant when my daughter played at Middle Tennessee University. His name's Matt Shoemate, and he is the head coach at Montverde Academy. I've never been there, but I've heard about it for years. It is a very prestigious African. They're coming from all over the world there.
Yeah.
So they're somewhere to. Now you need to know this. This is first time ever. Max Preps. I'm sure this got into some kind of political issue, but first time ever, Max Preps. If you don't play for a state championship, they are putting you in a separate poll. So we are in the
State championship
poll and ranked 13th. And, there's probably hundreds of academies across the country that don't play for a state championship. Can you imagine little small private Christian schools? But there's a handful. There's 4 or 5.
Yeah.
That Montverde is one of them. IMG in Florida. There's 4 or 5 around the nation that would be in that mix. So you throw them in there, we'd probably move up 3 or 4 spots. But so anyhow, so we got together. He's one of the 16 teams that got his trip canceled. Mm-hmm. And he said, "What if I put something together down here? Would you come?" I said, "I'm all ears." So he's got 4 teams for sure. Nationally contenders. I don't know if they're all nationally ranked because that'd be hard to pull off. But
Montverde is.
He's told me it's the best team he's ever had. And they've been national champs before. Now, it's his second year there.
Yeah.
He left
Webb
School in Bell Buckle, coming off 3 private small class championships. And so we don't know exactly. I know we're going to play Montverde. I don't know who the second opponent would be, but that will be September the 17th and 18th. That's a Friday and Saturday. Anybody wants to take a little weekend drive to Orlando?
Yeah.
I don't know how highly attended it will be since we're just throwing it together, but I'd say with that kind of talent, and you got uncommitted players, I'd say that you'll see a few college coaches in the gymnasium. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Fan base may not be as big as it could have been, but the college coaches know all about it. They'll be there.
Yeah.
They'll know about that. Well, looking at your rosters here, 8 seniors, 4 juniors, it looks like a couple of sophomores. Got all 5 starters returning from back-to-back state championship here. 4 seniors and a junior there with Camore Fields. 4 of those 4 seniors starters have all inked college scholarships. Camore Fields will certainly ink a scholarship, barring something unforeseen in her senior year. One of the best you've had here.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I think Avery Brewer and her played on that middle school state championship team, so it's not the first rodeo for them. Tatiana Stovall was on a back-to-back state championship team at Bell Buckle, and also won a state title in track. So she's got a few gold rings on one hand, looking to fill up the other hand, I guess, too. But very, very talented group. You've got size, you've got shooters, you've got a tremendous point guard, and it seems like you've had Sloan Carpenter in Crittenden, and those point guards they don't just happen, but you've been blessed at that area too, which is sort of like the quarterback in football. That's got to be a strong point to make everything basically happen when you're in the offensive sets.
Yeah, it's just such a valuable position. It could very well be the most important position on the floor. The game of basketball is still a big person's game. It's a tall person's game, but you see all different sizes. You turn on an NBA game, they got 7-footers shooting threes, in the last 10 years. But we have a lot of pieces. We have the right pieces in the right spots. And you don't always get, you can have a lot of good players, but you may have, we don't need, you can't win with 4 Malia Wilcoxes out there.
Right.
You may not be able to win with 4 Tatiana Stovalls. But we got a shooter in Avery. We got a point guard in Malia. We've got a very versatile and Harmony Ware, who can play inside out, handle the ball. She could run the point if I needed her to.
Yep.
Can shoot the three, can drive, going to Arkansas. You got Tatiana Stovall, who doesn't shoot the three, but could be the most athletic girl I've ever coached. I mean, she is fast, she's strong. I had to be careful when we're doing post drills because she's about tore my ACL a couple times with hitting me. She is strong.
Yeah.
I don't believe I could beat her in an arm wrestling match. She's strong.
Really?
And then and she can guard anybody on the floor. And then you got Kamora Fields, one junior that's starting. She set the state record last year, Gary. It's documented now. You can go look at it. She set the TSSAA since we've been keeping records now. Your principal has to sign off on this field goal percentage. She is now the leader in all-time single season field goal percentage.
Really?
TSSAA, a top 15 in the nation all time.
Wow.
69 point something.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yep, I've caught that. I was looking over the TSSAA handbook, and something popped up about records, and I just got looking through there, and I saw, ironically, the girl who had the record, a girl named Gabby Lyons, who was my daughter's teammate for 4 years. They came in the same class at Middle Tennessee. She had it from Science Hill. She shot like 67%. And I got looking at that, and I called Adam. I said, Kamora shot 69 point something. You know our stats are very accurate.
Yeah, with Adam.
I mean, sometimes I wonder about stats, when you see somebody averages, it's hard to run from the points, but the rebounds and assists and all that, it gets a little questionable at times, but she is documented all-time leader. So, and they're knocking my door down about her different colleges, Clemson, Mississippi State, Georgia. I could go on and on, but those are some that come to mind. So we've got the right people in the right spots, and we got Addie Guerin, who's not going to play for a couple more weeks probably, and she rolled her ankle in preseason, just pickup ball. No practice, they were scrimmaging, and she just cut across the floor, and her foot grabbed, and she didn't step on anybody, and she's out. So we miss her because she's a deadly shooter. And then you got, but we'll get her back maybe, I'm hopeful, in no more than 2 more weeks. And then you got Love Howard, who was on the floor when the horn went off last year, and so was Addie Guerin both in the state championship because we had 2 centers, 2 post players fouled out. So Love has got some offers. She's coming off the bench, improved her game. Since she came in here as an 8th grader, as a freshman, her progress has been pretty incredible.
I've said that very thing on the radio, that she may be one of the most improved Barretts that come in the program from the time she got here to the current day there. You mentioned something that made me think of something that brings back a memory of the state tournament. Talking about the girls being strong, Tatiana being strong, and the girls being strong. And I was, before we were broadcasting one of our games, I don't know which one of the 3 it was, but the guy who's doing the TV broadcast, might have been a championship game. He came to me and said, hey, I want to make sure my pronunciation of these names are correct. We were sitting side by side there at the press row there. And he started looking. He said, my goodness, what do you feed those girls? I said, what are you talking about? He said, look at this Bradley girls team and look at the team you're playing. Look at the difference in the build of the body. You can see the strength in their shoulders and their arms. And it's obviously been working out. He said, I guess they're working out. I said, they work out a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that's another key ingredient. It's an individual thing that if you want to be better, it's on you to be better, not just when you're playing as a team, but on your own, out here shooting maybe in the gym alone or working out alone or whatever. But a lot goes into that.
Certainly, yeah. We lift weights here pretty regularly. I mean, we have a little spell there in the summer in July where we kind of go our different ways, but we're lifting weights 10 out of 12 months a year. But you got some of this, Gary. It starts with genetics.
Right.
We got genetics, and we got some very genetically endowed girls with their athleticism, but then you put that with hard work and proper training in the weight room, and then you get a finished product. I think that's what you're saying. The announcer saw. He saw some very athletic young ladies who've worked really hard. Yeah. This country is full of athletic people, but what separates them is what they're willing to do. Everybody wants to win on Tuesday and Friday night. What are you willing to do on the other days?
Right.
That's what separates you.
That's the team's going to beat you.
That's the team's going to beat you. Yeah.
Well, Coach, it's been really great. I'm looking forward to the beginning of the season tomorrow night here at Bradley Central. We open with the River Ridge girls. The boys will also be playing Silverdale in a doubleheader match up there. And then we'll go, our next game after that will be at Lebanon, I believe it is. We're
Yes.
playing Lebanon girls on the road.
Well,
on
yeah,
the
we failed to
23rd.
mention that. I mean, we're
That's
going
Saturday.
Yeah, we got one day.
Yeah.
I mean, we won't have time to hardly get the laundry done, and we're getting ready to go. We got one day. I don't even have a film on them. They played last night. I've asked for the film. I think they played Oak Ridge. Bradley, former Barrett, coaching Oak Ridge. Paige Redmond.
Yeah.
Was her maiden name.
Yeah.
So I reached out to Paige, hoping to get that film, and I got to stay up. I was up late last night, and it's basketball season. My wife will tell you, Melissa will tell you, from November to March, she's a widow.
Yeah.
And it'll be a little bit funny there, but I'm blessed to have a supportive wife who allows me to do this, and I wouldn't be here without her. So I want to thank her, but I will tell you that this will be a challenge going to Lebanon. That's not an easy place to play, and it's they're a sleeper this year. They're in everybody's. You got your top 5 or 6, and they're in everybody else's next 5 or 6. So we got to keep working.
Well, it's going to be a good test there. And don't forget, we're here tomorrow night, Thursday, and then the Thanksgiving weekend, we'll play here at 3 o'clock on Friday against Stewart's Creek, and then at 4 o'clock on Saturday against Lincoln County. There's 2 other games both days. We begin at 3, it's a game at 4:30 with Lincoln County and Innsworth. 6 o'clock, Coffee County, who we know how good they are, and Power Academy. And then Saturday at 1 o'clock, Innsworth and Coffee. 2:30 Power Academy and Stewart's Creek, and then the Barretts at 4 o'clock against Lincoln County. So it's going to be a good, solid, strong bunch of basketball to come out and watch on Thanksgiving. Go ahead and eat your turkey on Thursday. Come out here Friday and Saturday, enjoy it, and be here tomorrow night. That's a huge game. It'll also be on the radio. Steve Wilson and I have the broadcast for you live. Tip off about 6 o'clock, JV boys game with Silverdale, then the varsity boys game after the Bradley girls take on the River Ridge Lady Knights. So thanks for being here, Coach. We'll do this again in a couple of weeks. I'll take next week off since school is shut out, and enjoy the football and basketball and the turkey and all the good stuff we normally do at Thanksgiving.
Appreciate you guys. Looking forward to another great year, and it's always an exciting time.
It sure is. For Coach Reuter, this is Gary Orby saying so long for now. God bless and go Barretts.